every day you go back to the studio and it is always a new challenge, always equally intimidating. Specifically, the challenge maybe about these new paintings, the ones I'm doing right now, is about the fact that I'm painting figure. And last year when my wife and I, when we moved to Florida, all of a sudden there was this need to paint humans. And initially I did not know what that would be about. All I knew was I want to paint large figures. It is a fascinating place, I think, for anyone. It's a visual feast, especially if you're a painter. It is all the beauty, it is the nature, it is these billowing clouds, it is the flatlands, and it is the darkness. It is the swamp and all the creatures. So all that mixed together, there is something, I think, magical and really special about it.
Some of the challenges I face in my work that I'm doing now is that, as you can see, it's very installation based. There's a lot of multiple components that have to come together to make a cohesive exhibit. Essentially what happens is the work is the space itself. It's not just like a canvas and you're looking at it. It's really like a mishmash of like how everything comes together and how it's all organized and assembled together becomes like a living canvas. So you can think of my installations as walking into a painting and exploring all the little different pigments and palette and form and structure and shape, but you're literally navigating through that within the space. I believe it's important to know what's happening in the larger art world, not necessarily be engaged in it, but to be aware of what's going on in the context. But in terms of when you're making work, you have to be true to your idea, and sometimes that is at odds with the marketplace, which is driving everything in the art world these days. So one has to be really clear about what's going on in the bigger scheme of things and know where it is that you may fit in and focus on those things.
My name is Anya Marais. I am based from Miami, and I'm originally from South Africa. I studied art in South Africa. I actually was an apprentice to a landscape painter throughout my teenage years. And right after graduation, I decided to become a better artist by actually collecting experiences, because only through life experiences, I believe, do we have something to say as artists, and that's how I start traveling and end up in the United States. There's something about Florida that reminds me of my own home country in the fact that it's really diverse, especially in Miami. I love the fact that there's so many cultures there and so many languages and so many different stories. That Creole atmosphere of Florida. So it's almost like it's a living collage that I can observe and then in a way translate into my own documented collages.
I'm Abbi Yosa, and I currently live in Tampa, Florida. I'm originally from the Northeast. I spent most of my life in the Philadelphia area. The challenges that I face with my work and what my work is primarily focused on is, well, the constant change of urban environments. I'm really interested in how neighborhoods evolve and, cater to an influx of different demographics during a change in urban renewal. Certain neighborhoods change faster than others, and I'm really interested in finding out why that is and how that is. I think it's important to show your work outside of where you are. I think traveling and being influenced and have a transfer of ideas throughout the world really is extremely important. Craftsmanship is a kind of tricky word. We think of craft. Yeah, I use a lot of wood in the work. but it's sculpture. I guess it's not a decorative art yet, but I'd like to take that into a more contemporary fine art setting.
My name is Omar, and I originally from Mexico. In the last maybe couple years, I've been developing this new body of work called the fabric paintings, and I have always made all my work analog. So this is the first time that I actually used a digital technology printing to create this fabric. I've always been very attracted to fabric that has pattern and that sort of thing that's been sold commercially. And there really wasn't the technology to create fabric that was of good quality that I wanted to use. And now that I have the technology, and usually this technology was created for aspiring fashion designers. In this way, with the fabric paintings, I was deconstructing my own work. I was collapsing my practice, where I was just taking all of this 15 years of imagery that I have collected, that I had this archive of images of all this old work, and then I could use it to create this fabric that then could be material, that could be raw material to create the fabric paintings.
I'm Vicki Pier, and I am a multimedia artist. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Crown Heights, and I now live in South Florida, in Miami. I think the good thing about being here is that I'm more susceptible, I'm more open to receiving what being Haitian is in terms of my creative process and, kind of my identity as a person. And I'm still mining that and sorting that out, because I don't want to be told who I am. I just want to be who I am and who I'm going to be. And I want my work to reflect that. I want my work to just exist. I want it to be that way because I also want the work to be really beautiful. I want it to be whimsical and kind of inviting in that way, and then you are expected, I'm expecting the viewer to then start considering all of these different symbols and signs that is embedded in the work.
My name's Lilian Garcia Roy, and I'm living in Tallahassee, Florida, but I was born in Cuba and grew up in Texas. I am doing these large-scale, on-site, often multiple-panel paintings of essentially the experience of being in a kind of natural environment. Specifically, one of the things that I've been wanting to do over the past 20 years is work, build up to a much larger scale, right? So to do that originally, because I make these on-site, traditional painting sizes are 18 by 24, you get bigger and bigger, so getting up to 5 feet by 4 feet was something, but then making groupings of them. So one of the biggest challenges was to be able to make a work that is essentially monumental in scale, yet still made on site. How can I physically do that? And can that even come together as a whole that makes, that makes sense? I personally think that for me, it's very important to be engaged in a dialogue beyond Florida, in part because I have lived in many different places, and I'm as interested in art from other cultures and other nations as well as other states. So I think it is important. I think, I want to be part of the national, international dialogue, and I don't think anyone can do it from just one place.
My name is Lola Gomes. I'm a visual journalist based in Daytona Beach, Florida. The challenge that I usually have, and it will be always, is to connect with people and to translate their feelings to an images. As a photojournalist, you try to present to the people the way that the people are feeling in the story that you are doing. Living in Florida, it's relevant to my work right now because Florida has a unique personality. I think everything that could happen in United States will happen in Florida. And as a photojournalist, it's important to be engaged in a community because you have all the stories in a small community and then you project every story to the world.
Hi, I'm Joe Fig. My work generally focuses on the creative process and the spaces where art is made, and also a little bit of the myth of the artist. So the challenges I find with my work, I guess primarily would be just going from medium to medium. So I work in sculpture, painting, some photography. I really look at these works as an indirect portrait, and what I'm really doing is looking for, when I'm in the artist studio, how they work, their painting surfaces or the tables that they work from, and replicating that to a T, because it's really in that specificity that I see the artist. I would say I'm still getting to know Florida. The good thing with Sarasota is that a lot of people live there. So I don't feel like I've lost that my other community that I was in, and it's really kind of fun just to kind of start building a new community. There kind of hits a point I found as an artist where you're kind of over the hump, and that's just what you are. You've had enough shows, you're doing this, and this, you have your community. And then when you run into your fellow artists, especially when you get older, there's almost like a sense of that you did it, and that even the ups and downs that everyone has in their careers, that's what you are. But it almost feels like you've kind of been through that and you've survived something to be able to come out the other side as an artist.
My name is Penafiel. My work is based on photography and in relation to video and animation, and it has evolved to multimedia installations. And what I'm trying to express with my work, it's all based with these social issues, especially issues that I have experienced, such as migration, and being in South Florida, and space that is multicultural. We have a lot of migration here. This has allowed me to be in conversations with first and second generation migrants and their stories, their background. And that has made me see the connections, the common denominator of these stories and issues and social issues. And with my work, I just try to remove all the things and just focus on the commonalities of it. It is not so much about me being engaged in the art world, national or international. It's more about the work that I do. And when I conceive a work, I think of it as an entity of itself, where it has its own responsibility or duty to communicate whatever I have put into it.